Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. My name is Reed Jaco, and
Danny Jacob.
welcome to another week of the Backyard Sports Talk. We have some good news. Actually, it's kind of great news, don't you think?
This is WrestleMania?
It is WrestleMania week. We are recording this right before WrestleMania, and by this time, we would hopefully, possibly, maybe have our WrestleMania special out. So we are going to have that released sometime on Monday after because WrestleMania is a 2 night event. We thought with it being a big event this weekend in wrestling that we would do a separate podcast for the rest of the sports that we talk about like baseball and football. And we're not going to do much wrestling talk here on this one. We'll save it all for our WrestleMania special. So that's what we're going to get into today. We are going to get into some of the UFL stuff going on. Dad's got some interesting UNC and Belichick news, and we have continued on with the Steeler quarterback drama and the good old Aaron Rodgers drama. So, Dad, you want to get us kicked off?
Yeah, I'll pick up this list. Well, I've got this here on Aaron Rodgers. This was part of Fox, I think. Anyway, so Aaron Rodgers was shocked by new Jets coach Aaron Glenn going rogue in an ugly exit from New York. Apparently, Aaron Rodgers was upfront about his current NFL standing with the future while joining the Pat McAfee show on Thursday. I guess that was maybe this week. Probably was this week. That included confirmation of discussions with several teams, including the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's also included a blunt description of the way his time with the New York Jets came to an end, and with the four-time MVP accusing new Jets coach Aaron Glenn of going rogue and an unusually testy exchange during their initial and final meeting before free agency.
Do you think that Rodgers was wanting control and Glenn was probably saying no?
I just feel like Glenn just didn't want nothing to do with him.
But why would he accuse him of going rogue?
Well, Aaron Rodgers is accusing him.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, I guess he's just meaning that somebody that goes, I would look at if rogue would be being rough around the edges, not abiding by the rules or anything. I guess he just carrying. I figured that what Rodgers was meaning, that he was just carrying on like he doesn't even exist, and they're looking for a quarterback. I don't know for sure.
Right. Well, I did see this week on a news report. I don't know if it was through the same interview that it is possible that Rodgers could retire come July or August if he doesn't have a team.
I didn't really see anything too much about that. We talked about that earlier. I'll look a little bit more, but I don't think that's what'll happen. I think somebody will probably sign him. I still wouldn't rule out the Steelers. I don't know. It says here's the Steelers quarterback situation. It says here's a more detailed breakdown. Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. The Steelers have expressed interest in re-signing both Wilson and Fields, who were their primary quarterbacks last season. Mason Rudolph, the Steelers signed Mason Rudolph to a 2-year deal, giving them a veteran option in the quarterback room. Aaron Rodgers, while no timeline has been set for potential signing, the Steelers have been in contact with Rodgers and remain optimistic about the possibility. Now, this was this week.
I still think at the end of the day the Steelers are going to bring him in. Just because, yes, they have some good veteran presence there.
Also said the Steelers are considering also drafting a quarterback in the later rounds, especially if they don't secure their preferred free agent options. Time constraints the Steelers need to make a decision soon, so they won't want to finalize their quarterback situation before the draft and start a training camp, at least before the start of training camp. So I don't know what they're going to do. They're keeping it pretty tight-lipped. I'm still haven't determined that I haven't ruled out Aaron Rodgers yet going to Pittsburgh still, like you say.
I will still say that at the end of the day, and I think we've talked about this, pretty much since the existence of our podcast here, for all 9 weeks, that he's kind of been the center point, and he's kept us in business.
Right,
We'll,
exactly.
we'll say that Rodgers has definitely kept us in business. But what I will say about the Rodgers saga is there's too many teams out there that I saw last year that struggled with quarterbacks. Why wouldn't you bring him in?
Exactly. Unless it's just Aaron Rodgers wanting too much control of the offense, or he's not liking some of the personnel and he's wanting them to do something different before they bring him in. Who knows? He's a very well respected veteran that he's going to have high demands probably wherever he goes.
Rightfully so, though. I mean, I think other than a couple out of the that are out of the league now, say like let's just use this like a Drew Brees, a Peyton and Eli Manning, or a Tom Brady. Wouldn't Rodgers be the next one you give the most control over your offense?
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. But maybe the Steelers don't.
And I'll be honest with you, and don't get me wrong. I know what you're gonna say. In today's game, it's all about the rings.
Mm-hmm.
But I would give more control over my offense to Rodgers than I would Eli Manning.
Yeah, I think I would. Absolutely, absolutely. And it may not be what it's about. It could be money.
Right.
Could be money.
I think at the state of the Jets, I think you're probably better off to bringing him back one more year.
I think the Jets would have been that would have been their best thing, was to try to improve the weapons around him.
Well, I'll be honest with you, and don't get me wrong, we're not in the front office, we're not making decisions. I still think it was a mistake firing Salah.
I do too. I think he should have had another chance.
Because that defense 2 years ago was great.
Top 5 defense, I think it was. So yeah, I think it was a mistake. I think they got too hasty about getting rid of him. It's the way they've. Is it Woody? What is Woody's? Is it Johnson that owns them? He bought them around the turn of the century, around 2000, and that's why he's always around sporadically. Whether he'll just decide somehow nowhere and do it.
Yeah, Woody Johnson. He bought him in 2000.
That's why Belichick would never work for him. I think is because if something don't go right, then he'll make a drastic change. Like fire the coach or
right,
something like that. So I think that's why nobody wants to be there.
Yeah, this was here on ESPN. Rodgers still undecided on future retirement possible. This was an appearance in a nearly 45 minutes appearance on the Pat McAfee show on Thursday afternoon. The quarterback offered little clarity on his next steps or a timeline of making a decision, but he said it has become apparent with teams pursuing his services. I wasn't stringing anyone along. I wasn't holding anyone hostage, said from his California home. I was honest from the jump where I was. I was at a mentality and some of the constraints I have in my life right now that I warrant my attention. I want to be open to anything and attached to nothing. Retirement still could be a possibility, but right now my focus has been and will continue to be on my personal life, and that what I've told the coaches, there's still conversations that have been had. It's all been very honest lines of communications.
I'm not sure what he meant by all that, but
in refuting reports, he asked a significant money or a multi-year deal. Rodgers said he told teams he would play for $10 million a year.
That's cheap for what today's elite quarterbacks are going for.
Quote from Rodgers: I told every single one of those teams I talked to, I ain't about the money, he said. I'll play for 10 million. I don't care. I never once said I need a multi-year deal, 30 million or 40 million. That's absolute explicit. I said I'll play for 10, whatever.
Well, it's a fair salary for him.
The free agent said he had confirmed that he had conversations with the Minnesota Vikings, New York Giants, and Pittsburgh Steelers.
I wish he would. It'd have been kind of neat if he went to Minnesota, wouldn't it? Been the repeat of the Favre thing.
I'm still thinking at the end of the day the Steelers, because I mean, why wouldn't you want to sign him for 10 million?
Yes.
Maybe it's just you know, I mean, you know how these contracts get, in these contract negotiations. I mean, yes, we're creeping up, but you got to think we're only in April,
Right.
and the draft is right around the corner. What, next week?
Yeah, the 21st.
Well,
I can't remember.
Today's the 19th.
It's this coming week.
So it'll be this week.
Yeah.
So maybe teams are just waiting to see how the draft goes.
And it very well could be. That's a lot. I guess it's Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, isn't it?
I bet it is.
I think it's just.
It's usually like
it goes into the weekend.
Yes, I bet it's going to start on Thursday.
I bet it'll start Thursday night at midnight.
Yeah, it don't start at midnight. No, the first round starts at like 7:00.
Yeah, so maybe it's Thursday morning at 7 a.m. it starts.
No, 7 p.m.
7 p.m.
Yes.
Okay, 7 p.m. on Thursday night.
Yeah, because that's round one, because they have a big thing on TV for it.
Right.
And then
the first 3 or 4 rounds are on TV, aren't they?
They're all pretty much on TV. Like NFL Network will have stuff on it all weekend, but the round one they make a huge deal out of it, because I've watched it for several years, and if I'm home in time, I'll definitely watch it Thursday, because that's what I do every year. But then Friday morning, it'll all officially kick off, right. And 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever will continue on.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's just Thursday.
Yes. All right. So looking here at the good old agenda. What do we got on the UNC and Belichick? You were talking a little bit about it earlier before we started recording. So
I didn't. I guess I need to be quoting the person that had reported this, but I read online that some of the I guess I'll use the word civilian employees, we'll say, at UNC that are involved in the sports program, but obviously not athlete or a coach.
So just like front office people?
Yeah. Apparently some of them are not very happy with the Belichick, with the, UNC way. The new UNC way. Anyway, they wasn't happy with some of Belichick's policies and other things. It's just, I don't think, the way I read between the lines, they have not been used to being run that tight of a ship. And this ship is they said that all the doors were sealed.
So this is from the New York Post. And the headline is, "They're not loving the Bill Belichick experience in North Carolina as concerns linger." The the Tar Heel way, good grief, I can't talk, apparently isn't for everyone. Belichick is apparently no Rodney Dangerfield when it comes to going back to school, with a gruff coaching falling as a month or two to endure himself to those in the program, according to Tom Curran, a longtime Boston reporter who covered Belichick. Here's what was said in quote, "From rumblings I've heard, and this is not recent, this is a month or two ago, they're not loving the Bill Belichick experience. If you're an everyday employee down there, which is probably a lot of people here felt in 2000 when Belichick came aboard, said, I don't know if I like this. It's uncomfortable," Kieran said. Thursday on a Boston WEEI afternoons.
Well, they're not used to having a running a tight ship, and I can't. You can't disrespect that.
Well, here's the thing though, is what you got to realize, and what a lot of people I think has to take into consideration, and I had this happen at a former workplace of mine. When a new, say, manager or a coach, or say a lead role takes over, they're gonna be different.
Well, yeah, that's anytime there's a new manager.
Yes,
They'll say there's a new sheriff in town, things are going to be different.
it's definitely different, and it takes time to get used to, and I mean,
I wouldn't think that the civilian employees would be affected that much.
well, if you work in the, I mean, they probably made him like probably the athletic director. I don't know.
I'm sure he wanted it all. That's why he wasn't.
If he's the athletic director,
they all work for him.
yeah. Of course, I don't know if he's the athletic director, because of course, I mean, I don't know what kind of employees they got going on there, but
I'd be surprised if he's not over everything. That's what he usually demands. But anyway, not a big deal. Just thought that was interesting there.
So Bubba Cunningham is still the director of athletics there, but I mean, unless of course, I don't know about that facility. I don't know really how the backside of the college sports system works. So I mean, they could have a full blown part of system where
right.
A lot of people work under him. Shit, I don't know.
Anyway, I just thought that was kind of interesting to just to see that maybe the Tar Heel way now isn't going to be as beloved as the Patriot way. Hey, it takes a little while for change.
It does. It takes time. But, I think if they all get success and, he treats them right eventually, I think everything will be okay.
Oh, it will be. Especially winning solves a lot.
Oh, yeah. You forget a lot. You forget a lot of things when you start winning.
Absolutely.
So moving on now. So here is week 4 of the UFL. We had one game last night and one game today. We'll have another game tonight at this is be Saturday night, the 19th, and then we'll have one tomorrow night or evening at 4 p.m. So here's the scores. It is the Michigan Panthers over the Memphis Showboats, 27-9. That was played at Ford Field in Detroit. The Arlington Renegades beat the St. Louis Battlehawks 30-15. That was played in the Choctaw Stadium, formerly known as the Globe Life Park in Arlington, Texas.
This is the last weekend's, ain't it?
No, this is...
The Battlehawks lost again?
Yes, they're 2-2.
Oh, okay.
And the game later tonight is the Birmingham Stallions at the Houston Roughnecks, playing at the TDECU Stadium in Houston, Texas, on the campus of the University of Houston. And the game tomorrow will be at Washington, D.C. It is the San Antonio Brahmas at the D.C. Defenders at the Audi Field. And the current standings for the UFL, and the XFL conference. See, they have two conferences now, and they have the XFL and the USFL. In the XFL, it is the DC Defenders at 3-0, the Arlington Renegades at 3-1, the St. Louis Battlehawks at 2-2, and the San Antonio Brahmas at 0-3.
I thought that the Battlehawks I thought they were better than that.
Well, they've lost 2 straight.
Yeah.
In the USFL conference, we have the Michigan Panthers at 3-1, the Birmingham Stallions at 2-1, the Houston Roughnecks at 1-2, and the Memphis Showboats at 0-4. Just a reminder, a couple of these teams have not played tonight. They'll play tonight and tomorrow. So we've only had 2 games this week. We'll have 2 more. So there is that. That is the current standing so far.
I was going to talk a little bit about the UFL. Remember?
Go ahead.
Just something else that I asked this question and got an answer. How is the UFL doing? Will they be here next year? And yes, what I found says yes, the UFL is expected to continue in 2026 and is planning to also expand. Specifically, the league intends to add 2 new teams in 2026, according to multiple reports. Plus, plans for expansion is part of a larger plan to grow the league and potentially add more teams in future seasons, with an ultimate goal of 12 teams by 2027. So it sounds to me like the UFL is going to be here for a while. At least be here long enough to give it a good, a good try. And that's what I was, Vince the second time COVID kind of got him, and they didn't really have that opportunity. But
COVID ruined a lot of things.
Yes. But I think unless something really bad, the UFL should be here for a while. And if the longer they can go here to finally get established and people start paying attention to them, then, we might finally have one that makes it.
And, I think we watched that YouTube video that day. I still think they need to stick in the Midwest now.
I think so.
Instead of moving out west. Because there's plenty of teams in the Midwest that could use a team. Like, for example, Louisville is a great place to put a team that has no real professional sports teams. That would be a great place for them to fit for them. And I tell you, another place that would be a fantastic fit for them. And I'm sure, they've got a great football stadium, would be Knoxville.
Yeah. The question is, can that part of the country sell out a UFL game?
Well, if you're looking at the way the stadium, how the stadiums are built in the UFL, St. Louis is the biggest one.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was the former.
Well, if they could put 30,000 paid fans in each game,
right.
I think they'd be happy.
Of course, Michigan does play in Ford Field, but they have most of their seats closed off.
Right.
But I still think you could probably have a good showing in, say, like a Louisville and a Knoxville.
Right.
And those teams that, those places that don't have sports teams.
Right.
Especially like NFL teams.
There should be enough people around both areas to fill it up.
Absolutely.
Or to reach what the amount of sales that they want.
Try to reach capacity to what they want. And I think another one that would be a good one to explore would be the OKC area.
Yeah.
Because the only true pro sport there is basketball.
Right.
And their AAA affiliate, the Dodgers AAA affiliate, is in Oklahoma City.
Now, under the old XFL, we didn't have one in Arlington, did we? It was just Houston.
No, there was one in Arlington. Yes.
There by Dallas?
Yes.
There was?
Because they still played in that stadium.
We got Texas kind of covered,
Yeah, they need to stay out of Texas if you're asking me. And I would definitely try, say like an Oklahoma would definitely be kind of a question mark. Of course, you got Arlington just south of there. That's another question that you would have to probably think about.
Think one would ever work around Omaha? It's a big area, but that's a big college football area too.
Yeah, but I mean, here's the thing though. College football is at a different time.
That's true. Omaha's a big area.
This is spring football, so I mean it's not like, you're having NFL and stuff, and you're not trying to all do it in between August and December.
It works up in Green Bay. That's not a very big area.
Right? So, I mean, I think there's definitely options to be explored in the Midwest. I think the towns that they need to try to stay away from is like a Nashville. They need to stay away from Nashville. They need to stay away from Cincinnati, Cleveland. Um, Charlotte is another one they need to stay away from. But
You think so? You don't think Charlotte would be a good choice?
no, they already have a football team.
Oh, well, yeah.
I wouldn't go.
Panthers, yeah, I got you.
I wouldn't go. I would not add any more.
I wouldn't go
any more-
northeast either. There's too many teams
No,
up there.
no. However, if you're going to go into Florida, I'd go back to Orlando.
Yeah. That's very true. That's true.
Because they went to Orlando, I think it was back in 20.
I'm just curious to where these two expansion teams are going to go. And we'll be hearing this talked about before long, I think.
Oh, I think so.
I'm still going to think the Northwest.
I don't see the Northwest because all the teams are still in the Midwest. I don't see them putting teams out there just yet.
There's not a California team yet?
No. But there was a Seattle team. I think it was in 20 and maybe even last year, but then maybe it was just in 20, but then they cut them out.
I guess need to do some digging and see if we see, in the future shows, if we see any type of landing spot for them. But anyway, I just thought that was interesting that they'd be around next year, maybe. I was afraid that, you never know about things.
I mean, you don't, because, I mean, it takes just one
takes a
week.
barrel of money to run this thing.
Oh, yeah.
And if you're not getting some of it back or a big part of it back, it's not going to work.
Yeah. It takes 1 week to just fall on your face, if you will.
Yeah, and have a really bad week to, if you really... I'm assuming they have enough money put back maybe to get through this year and to do another year at least. They must have already had planned for that.
Well, I mean, you got to think, now, Fox is a part of them. So, they've got to be making a little bit of money and to keep it going.
Right. Very true.
With the full, the merge and the expansion and everything. And, they've got full TV rights through all that. And, they've got to be making money.
I think, really, to give it a good test, I think at the end of next season, they'll be, if they have a good year this year, then next year, if they have an expansion and can have a really good year, I think by the end of that second season, you might have a little idea thinking, hey, they may be around for a little while. They got some attention this year or something like that. That's just what I'm thinking.
Right. The Rock is definitely not a person that is going to give up easy.
No, not easy at all. And unless he sees it's just hemorrhaging money,
Right. So, I mean, I wonder, is that a public or is it private? Because I'd like to see their financials.
I think it's probably private right now. There's a bunch of them that's involved in it, I think, but it's not publicly traded or anything, I don't think.
Right.
Anyway, the last thing I'll say about the NFL is, kind of mentioned it earlier.
UFL. Or NFL.
Or football. NFL now. I'm jumping back to the NFL. Last thing is these teams, I don't think we had talked about it, but we did mention it, but they're preparing for draft. We know it's going to start. We decided all Thursday night. And, it's a big deal. The teams are getting ready. They've researched and watched film. And so anyway, I think it'll make next weekend a little, the next time we do a show, we'll have a little bit more, at least about the draft. That part will be interesting, but that's kind of where it's at right now with football. Other than that, it's just kind of waiting for the draft to happen.
So before we get off of football, I want to go over the first 5 picks.
Okay.
So the first round, it'll be Tennessee, Cleveland, New York Giants, New England Patriots, and the Jacksonville Jaguars. When was the last time that you recall that the New England Patriots were in the top 5 of draft picks?
Well, besides last year.
Besides last year.
Besides last year.
Okay, between this year and last year, when do you think the last year?
He would have been in the 90s.
That is
He'd
insane.
have been in the 90s.
That is insane. So
Yeah, it would have probably been late 90s.
goodness, yeah. So
That's the reason that I've made such a big deal about the Patriots.
Right.
Is the longevity that this lasted.
Absolutely. So real quick, the draft will start on Thursday, April 24th. You can watch the draft live on NFL Network, NFL Plus, ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN Deportes. Tune in at 8 p.m. 8 p.m. Eastern, which will be 7 p.m. Central Time on Thursday to catch all the day one action live. Coverages 2 through 7 will be on these subsequential days on the same platforms. So, and the draft will be held at Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Yeah, they move that differently every year, don't they?
Yes. I'm looking forward to it. My team has the 25th pick of the first round, so we'll see how that goes. Hopefully, we'll have a big trade maybe for the top, maybe a top 5 pick.
Sure.
We always have a good trade before. Real quick, you ever seen that? I think you have, but the movie Draft Day.
Yes, it's been a long time. It's been a long time. I need to rewatch it, but
yeah, I'll probably end up rewatching it again this week. I always love that movie. That's a good movie.
Yeah.
But no, looking forward to this week. Got some big NFL things going on with the draft coming up. Real excited about that. Maybe that'll put an end to the quarterback drama with Pittsburgh. Maybe that'll give us a little more direction of who they're going to choose, who there's going to be QB1 starting out next year. Who's going to sign Aaron Rodgers? I mean, that could be a big leader. I mean, if, for example, Giants got somebody on their radar for the draft, but somebody else takes him, that could mean that Rodgers goes to the Giants, at the last minute. Who knows?
If you got a draft pick that you're in the top 5, top 10, and let's just say you're signing Rodgers, and you need a quarterback, don't you still draft? He's a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
He's a Band-Aid for this year, maybe.
Oh, I still think you draft.
I still think you got to draft a quarterback.
Oh, absolutely. But for example, if you miss out on a quarterback, I mean, he's probably a good backup too.
Right. Exactly.
All right, so moving on now to some MLB news. Pretty light, other than just the scores and the standings. We'll go over some of the current standings. The middle of the week, a lot of weekend series. But I wanted to kind of get to probably the biggest news of the week. The first one that I had was Chaz Chisholm. He was ejected after a strikeout, and he later posted a tweet that had some explicits in it, explicit words. Then he later deleted that tweet, but MLB did not like that, so they ended up suspending him 1 game over that, and I do not know if he ended up appealing that. If he appealed, then it would be determined later by the league and whatnot. But he was suspended for. Okay, yes. Aaron Boone says that Chisholm is appealing the decision. So he was suspended 1 game after blasting the umpire on social media. Following that, he was called out for arguing balls and strikes. So, Dad, my question for you is: yes, you saw the pitch. I showed you the pitch. Do you think it's now time for the ABS system, the automatic ball strike system in baseball?
No, I don't think so. I mean, a lot of people. Uh, I think in baseball more so than any other sport that human error is just part of the game.
I could agree with that.
This is part of the game, part of the drama of the game. Now, I got no problem with the instant replay on like the bases and all that stuff, but not a balls and strike thing. I just don't. I don't see it. I think that the human element is so much a part of that game that that's the way it needs to remain.
I completely agree. So, there's, like we talked about in spring training, they had, they were kind of sampling the ABS system. I mean, it worked. It was interesting to watch, and I watched quite a bit of games where it went over all of that. But I'll be honest with you, it takes the fun out of it because, I mean, who are you gonna go out and yell at if you get called on a strike three that's a little bit outside the zone, or in the bottom of the ninth or whatever? I mean, it's ultimately not the umpire's call. It's that automatic balls and strike system.
Well, here's the one reason that I would, that being said, would like to see it fully implemented for preseason and not regular season. But I think it would be fine for preseason. First off, it might make you really look at your pitchers really well. That pitcher, if that's you don't have to pitch right in that box. There's not going to be no cheating there.
Right.
So that might really tell you who your pitcher is. It's really, some guys that's got a lot of accuracy and a lot of good movement. It'd be kind of interesting to me to judge it on that, if nothing else. But if they want to do that during X amount of games and maybe have a week of it or something, or 2 weeks of spring training doing that, or whatever it might be, but I think it would be fine, but not in regular season. No.
I definitely agree with that. I don't like the idea of that. I never have, and probably never will. Yes, I've seen some egregious calls, but I mean that's part of it.
Well, the human element's always been part of the game, and it's
absolutely
it just shouldn't really,
because I mean going back to the play in what World Series was it back in the '80s with the I-70 series.
Oh, Kansas City and St. Louis.
Yeah. Well, if we had replay review in the 1980s, that would have been overturned. The Cardinals would have won.
Yeah. So I think the human involvement is just part of the game and adds to part of the drama of the game. That's just
Absolutely.
And you remove that, and it just to me it just becomes too many machines.
We need to get back to the old-fashioned baseball.
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, I don't have too much of a problem with them using it on bases, but not for balls and pitches. I wouldn't be for it. The only time that I would think it would be kind of interesting to maybe do it in preseason, or at least part of preseason. Yeah. And they did this year too, right?
Correct.
Did they do it for the whole thing?
Yes. And it wasn't every stadium either. I think it was like 14 or 15 stadiums. My numbers may be off.
I think it would be neat to do it, shift it around every year, maybe do it part of them, and just shift it around and just play with it in preseason, but not regular season.
I agree with that. So moving on now, Jacob DeGrom, coming back off injury from last year, looked vintage. But he takes the loss in a pitcher's duel versus Yoshinobu Yamamoto. In this game, yes. Oh, that's what you get for trying to speak a Japanese name. But Yamamoto is a fabulous pitcher. So is Jacob DeGrom. He looked very vintage form. He threw 7 innings, had 3 hits, and 7 strikeouts, 1 walk. Looked very good. Looked like he did way back in 2018 when he won his Cy Young Award. So, good to see that. Always appreciate a good pitcher's duel. But I tell you what, this was not a pitcher's duel. The Cubs and Diamondbacks had combined for 16 runs in the eighth inning on Friday.
Wow.
The most combined runs in a single inning at Wrigley Field ever, breaking the previous record of 15 set way back in 1922.
How many points were there again?
What did you just say?
There's no points.
There was no points.
Okay, that's right.
There were runs. There were runs in baseball. We have runs in baseball. So in the Cubs and Diamondbacks game, this was far from a pitcher's duel. There was 17 runs in the eighth inning alone.
Wow.
Both combined. The previous record was 15 runs set way back in 1922.
Okay. Wow. One inning.
Inning.
Things just got out of control.
Oh, absolutely. I've always wanted to go to Wrigley Field, and hopefully I'll get there eventually.
We will.
Next on the list, Dodgers Shohei Ohtani, the $700 million man, was placed on paternity leave so he could go be a part of the birth of his first child, and he could return during the Rangers series. And he's also just a few months away from being back on the mound. He had Tommy John surgery a couple of years ago, and he hit last year only, and he's still not ready to return on the mound because since he is a two-way player, DH and pitcher, he didn't have the extensive everyday rehabbing that a lot of the strict pitchers would have.
Oh, okay. I figured he still would.
That's why he's still. When he was a 50-50 guy last year, 50 home runs and 50 stolen bases.
So he's only going to get 50% of the training.
Sure. So looking forward to seeing him back on the mound. He's a fabulous pitcher, and the last time we saw him pitch in a big game was against the Team USA. Yes, he pitched against his former teammate Mike Trout and struck him out, but this time around, Aaron Judge commits to the World Baseball Classic as a captain for Team USA in 2026 under this marvelous coaching staff.
Yeah, this is pretty good.
The manager is Mark DeRosa. The bench coach is Skip Schumacher. The pitching coach is Andy Pettit. The hitting coach is Matt Holliday. The first base coach is George Labarde. Third base coach is Dino Abell. The bullpen coach is David Ross. And the assistant managers are Brian McCann, Michael Young, and Freddie Gonzalez.
David Ross was the one that worked with...
He was John Lester's personal catcher.
Yeah.
For a couple of years. Yeah. And he was
that's what I was trying to think of.
Right. He was manager for the Cubs for a couple of years, and then they ended up moving on from him. But no, it was kind of a slow week in baseball. Didn't have much going on.
Who's got the best record now after 2 weeks?
So we are now, we're through a couple of weeks here. Yeah. So right now, let's go MLB. Sorry, pulling it up. The San Diego Padres, by winning percentage, has the best record at 15-5.
Wow.
The Dodgers is next to them at 15-6.
Dodgers picked it up some, ain't they? Go down a little.
Yes. The New York Mets are 13-7. The New York Yankees are 13-7, and the San Francisco Giants are also 13-7. The Detroit Tigers are 13-8. The Philadelphia Phillies are 13-8. The Chicago Cubs are 14-9. The Texas Rangers, the Toronto Blue Jays are 12-8. The Arizona Diamondbacks are 12-9. The Milwaukee Brewers are 11-9. The Cleveland Guardians are 10-9. The Los Angeles Angels are 10-9. The Boston Red Sox are 11-10. The Cincinnati Reds and Seattle Mariners are both 10-10. The Houston Astros are 9-10. The Athletics are 9-11. The St. Louis Cardinals are 9-11. The Baltimore Orioles are 8-11. The Miami Marlins are 8-12. Tampa Bay Rays are 8-12. Pittsburgh Pirates are 8-13. Washington Nationals are 7-12. Kansas City Royals are 8-14. Minnesota Twins are 7-13. And the Atlanta Braves are 6-13. The Chicago White Sox are 4-15. And rounding out the list at 3-15 is the Colorado Rockies.
I thought that Kansas City was supposed to come on and have a good year this year.
I mean, I don't really pay attention much to April baseball because it's going back, I don't know, since 2018, the Astros have always started below 500.
Right. And they may be fine this year.
So, once things turns to May and June, things change.
Right.
And it's kind of, we've kind of had crazy weather here in Missouri, so that could be affecting Kansas City.
Right. Very well. And, hey, I like to see them do good. We'll see.
Oh, absolutely. They're a fun team to watch. Got a young Bobby Witt Jr. and some guys like that, so we're looking forward to that. We're also looking forward to watching WrestleMania tonight. Gonna be excited about that. WrestleMania Night 1 is Saturday. WrestleMania Night 2 is Sunday. We will have a WrestleMania special up on probably gonna be Monday. This will probably end up dropping Monday morning too. But once we will have a special there. We will break down all the matches and such. Super excited about that. So, Dad, do you have anything else that you'd like to add? Because I think we are. I'm done here.
Everybody enjoy WrestleMania tonight, and happy Easter to everybody. Tomorrow is Easter Sunday, so bless everybody and have a blessed Easter. And watch some WrestleMania tomorrow night. So we will catch you on the next episode with where we're going to just be talking about wrestling.
All right, y'all take care. We'll see you on the next episode, the WrestleMania special, and we will catch you on the flip side. We'll see you then.